Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round 19, the last round of the season of League of Europe here at Brazil. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Car Mentalist. I'll be taking you through the commentary today. Alongside me is my IRO teammate and good friend of mine, it's Dylan. How are you doing, Dylan?
Hi Aidan, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, like we said, it's the last round of the season. It's sprung up on us pretty quickly, actually. The season's absolutely flown by, but yeah, last round of the season, and there's still a couple months to go until the new game comes out. So it's all or nothing really for the last round. Obviously, the championship's already wrapped up at this point. Ben's championship lead is 92 points coming into this race, which is just utterly insane. He's been incredible so far this entire season. He's been incredible. But there's a big fight for second in the championship. It's 4 points covering Bree, who's currently second, ahead of Tun, who is third, and Packer, who is fourth. Those three are all very close together in the championship standings. So that's going to be a very interesting fight for P2 in the championship.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And Ton, however, is not racing today, it seems like. So it's going to be a battle between Bree and Packer. And Packer's on a good run of form the last few weeks. 3 podiums in a row, 3 second places in a row even. And he's looking to claim the second place spot in the standings to end the season.
Yeah, absolutely. He came in the championship a little bit late. And he had a bit of a rough start to his campaign, but since then his campaign's absolutely taken off really, and he's been very consistent recently. It's kind of really the polar opposite of Bree, because Bree came out the gates absolutely flying, and it's just not worked out for him in the second half of the season. But they're on completely polar opposites really, so it's going to be a good fight to see between Bree and Packer to see which one comes out on top in the run for second, basically. So run for Division 3.5 champion, we'll say.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see Packer. I know how much Packer wants this second place in this championship, how much it means to him, so he'll be pushing quite hard today, and hopefully I hope at least, a little bit of biasm that he gets it. And of course, good luck to Bree as well, and everyone else in D3. Hopefully this is a good race, as it seems like we're ready to go.
Yeah.
15 seconds till the start of quali at least. And I wish everyone good luck and have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish everyone the same as well. There's a few other places up for grabs as well. Callum is up for taking P6 off his teammate Tiger, who is not racing today. So Callum can take P6 off. And considering Callum joined D3, what was it? Was it just before Singapore? I think Monza might have been his first race. I can't actually remember. But Callum joined the season late, and the fact that he's fighting for P6 in the championship shows he's been incredibly competitive since he's joined. So look out for next season. There's a number of people in D3, even possible people moving up from D4 that could really fight for the championship next season and make it even closer than it is this year.
Yeah, of course, that's always the case, and always with the last round, people want to end the season with a bang. So we're going to see who is going to end this season with a bang.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple of things to note going into qualifying. I have been made aware that going into this qualifying, neither Williams will be taking part in qualifying, apparently. So our champion Benjay and his teammate Joe Luke are going to be starting from the back of the grid by the looks of things. And by the looks of things, it's a dry qualifying, so no rain interference as of yet. I say that, though, it feels like every single D3 race that I've commentated on so far this season has been wet at some point. I don't think it ever doesn't rain in D3, so we'll have to wait and see what the weather forecast looks like for the race. But for qualifying, at least, it looks pretty dry.
Yeah, it looks pretty dry. It looks like cloud. So looks like a dry quali. Hopefully it is a dry race as well. We'll see the fast guys using their dry setups, of course, and hopefully we'll see a 0.7. That would be great.
Yeah, definitely. Fastest lap time for qualifying, you probably would say a high 7 is possible, especially from the likes of maybe Callum. He's definitely up there. Obviously Packer as well. Bree we know is fast. Wesker we know has been fast recently as well. He's obviously been a new addition to the tier as well, but he's been pretty fast. Pelly was really fast in USA last time out. Unfortunately, the race didn't qualifying last time out. Pelly really came out of his shell and really proved to have some good pace. So there's a number of people that could possibly put it into maybe a high 7 or a low 8 for pole position today.
Yeah. And what is your prediction for the top 3 of this race, Abe?
I think for qualifying, I think my top 3, I'm gonna say, it's D3. I think it's so hard to predict who's gonna win in D3 because races seem to be chaotic no matter what. I'm gonna go for a bit of a topsy-turvy one. I think we might see a new winner today. I'm gonna put Storm, I think, for for the win of the race. I'm going to say I'm not going to do quali predictions because Lord above knows that I never get them right. So I'm probably going to say that Chris may win. Storm may win this race. Sorry, I'd say Chris is going to be on the podium at some point as well, and I'd probably say Packer's on the podium as well. He's had such a good run of form this recently, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the podium as well.
Yeah, of course. There are excellent drivers, of course, and we'll be seeing in 16 minutes who will put the car on pole position and who will have the best seat to start the race.
Absolutely, we're just riding on board with Total Ps. He's going to be the first person then to complete a lap. Through the first sector, you want to be mid-16s really. A 16.8 is not a bad first sector for Ps. It's pretty competitive. He was a little bit too much apex curb in turn 4, but gets away with it. So he goes up the hill now into turn 6. Very long corner, very easy to run wide here and invalidate your lap, but he keeps it nice and tight to the apex before the next corner. Downshifts very quickly. Through the slowest part of the lap now, just a sequence of hairpins really. Heat is already retired from the session actually. I don't know if he's crashed or whatever. He actually had a collision with Black Mamba. Wow, okay, so Black Mamba and Heated have come together in qualifying already, and Black Mamba's got a 5-place grid penalty and Heated is out of the session, so I have no idea what on earth happened there, but that's a disaster for Heated in the Toro Rosso, and for Black Mamba, who's obviously a reserve driver. He's in the Ferrari. That's a real shame for both of them. Here we go then. P's coming up to the line. Let's see what the first lap time is going to be at Brazil. It is a 1 minute 8.9. I imagine some people may go faster than that, but an 8.9 is definitely not bad. It's competitive.
Yeah, it's a decent banker.
Definitely, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, and then Packer.
8.5.
Yeah, 0.4 of a second clear for Packer then. Aledi crosses line on a 9.1. Not too far off himself either. Got one of the Hasses coming up to the line. Is that Goldie? It is. It's Goldie on a 9 flat as he crosses the line. One of the Alfa Romeos is now coming up to the line. That's Damon, but he invalidated his lap by the looks of things. Wesker crosses the line on a 9.8, but he's on the hard tyres. Bit of a strange call there for Wesker. It's a pretty easy soft-medium strategy around Brazil, so our hard tyres are pretty unlikely unless there's some sort of incident on the first lap, but he's decided to go for the hard tyres in the qualifying, and he's on a 9.8, which is still pretty competitive.
Storm puts his car in P2 with an 8.8.
Yeah, good lap from Storm.
Yeah. And Chris sets a 9 flat. However, he did lift off, it looked like, when he crossed the line. But a little bit interesting, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Bree is about to start his lap. We'll go on board with him, I guess. Going down to turn 1. Keeps it nice and tight, good apex on turn 2. Gets a decent exit out of turn 3. Looks like a decent first sector. What's he gonna do? Ideally, you want to be in 16.7, 16.8, and he's in the 17 flat.
Yeah.
It's not fast enough, and he goes wide into turn 4. Not looking like the best of laps so far, but he can all bring it back together now in the final, or second sector and the third sector, of course.
As Damon,
into turn 8.
Sorry to interrupt, Damon jumps into P2 now on an 8.7 on his second lap on the soft tyres, so he invalidated his first one, but he's had a pretty decent time for his second run. So wait and see what everyone else is doing. We've got one of the Mercs coming up to the line. That might be Ricardo coming up to cross the line. Actually, no, it's not. It's Storm coming into the pit lane, I believe. We've got Hardy coming up to the line, and he's invalidated his run, so we're starting another run now. Got one of the Red Bulls coming up to the line now as well. That's James. He does a 10.8, so he goes a second slower than his teammate on the same tyres. Ivory Mike does a 10.7. Here comes Bree then, and it's only a 9.1. Only a 9.1, and Pelly.
He does, however, get the fastest final sector.
He does, yeah. And Pelly, meanwhile, jumps into P4 on an 8.8, so he jumps right up behind Storm. Let's have a look who else is scoring lap times then. Ricardo came through on a 9.1, so he's just behind Bree. Still really close field though. Look at that though. From Damon down to Ricardo, that second down to 10th is covered by 0.4 of a second. So just goes to show how close the times are around this track and how one mistake can cost you so many places.
Yeah, that's true. It's really close, tight in the pack right now. So hopefully drivers can improve on their second run. It seems like we're in a little bit of a what do you call it? It's a slow part of quality, let me just say. Everyone's coming back into the pits on their outlaps again, trying doing their second run. Looks like McDutchface is about to start his lap, it seems.
Yeah, let's go on board with McDutchface. See what he can do. He's running very wide. He's trying to build up as much straight line speed as he can when he crosses the line. See what he can do then. is really wide, actually too late on the brakes for turn 1, misses the apex by a country mile really, and he's compromised for turn 2 as well, so this is going to be a very compromised first sector for my Dutch face. He can definitely improve on that. But fingers crossed he stays out. We've got one of the Hasses moving onto the racing line. They just move out of the way. It's a 17-2 first sector for my Dutch face, so it is fairly uncompetitive at the moment. We'll see what he can do in the middle and the last parts of the lap. If he goes around Brie, then we know that he's definitely got some decent pace in that car. So let's have a look. So he comes around. Oh, he actually invalidates there on the exit of turn 6. So that's Dutch Face's time gone, unfortunately. He won't be able to set a lap time this time round. He may go for another. He may go in and put another set on, or he might go on the same tyres again, but we'll have to wait and see for that one. Meanwhile, our current pole sitter Packer's just started another lap, and he's already invalidated by the looks of things, so he's not improving on his run now.
And one thing to mention, Wesker did improve on his 9.8, and he did a 9.3 on the hard tires.
Wow.
Incredible pace.
Yeah, Wesker, brilliant pace at 9.3 on hard tyres. Wow. Very, very bizarre though that he is using the hard tyres in qualifying. I would have expected people to at least maybe 3 sets of softs in qualifying around Brazil. It's possible to do 4 if you're quick enough, but a set of hard tyres and he does a 9.3. Look out for Wesker in the second part of qualifying. He looks like he's absolutely going to fly. He's absolutely going to fly on the soft tyres, if I can spit my words out. Meanwhile, Brie, actually, on his 3rd lap on the soft tyres, jumps up to P2 just behind his championship rival for second. He's 4 thousandths of a second off of Packer's time, and that's on 3-lap-old soft tyres. Where's that pace come from Brie?
Yeah, brilliant lap time, really close between the top 2 right now. And
yeah, brilliant to see that.
His lap and is now
Aledi.
Wow.
Aledi steals pole position, so Aledi jumps up to the front of the field. I think Callum just jumped up. Yeah, Callum jumped up to 5th on an 8.7. But yeah, Aledi jumps to the front of the field now. He's 52 thousandths clear of Packer. But it's great to see Packer and Brie, who are fighting it out for second in the championship, so close on track. But Brie, imagine doing that on the 3rd lap of soft tyres. He's got even more pace in his back pocket. So look out for Brie for possible pole position. See if anyone else is improving at the moment.
Gold is about to finish his lap.
Yeah, as he comes up to the line.
Up in his middle sector. Let's see what he's going to do. And only if he pulls on by half a 10. However, he does.
He drops the pace actually because Black Mamba jumps up to P4. Obviously, Black Mamba has a grid pace, has a grid penalty, but Black Mamba in the Ferrari jumps up to P4. So the Ferraris have got good pace around Brazil. Let's have a look through the rest of the field. Just seeing on board with Ivor. Ivor just started a lap, but he came up to quite a lot of traffic. I don't know if Ivor had to back off there. I think Ivor may have had to back off for both of the Red Bulls, so he's actually running around in AI at the moment, so not quite sure really what happened for Ivor there, but he was running very slowly down the back straight and there were a lot of cars around him. As we've got Hardy, meanwhile, Hardy's actually jumped up into the top 4 now. He's also on an 8.5. The top 4 all within a 1/10 of a second. How incredibly close this is, but yeah, Hardy jumps up to P4 now. Unfortunately, Hardy, his run of pace so far in the last few races or so really hasn't stopped him in the fight for second. He would have been within the fight for second, but unfortunately he's just fallen too far off the back of Packer and Brie and Turn at this stage. But still a brilliant season for Hardy, and he's definitely a really big competitor for next season as well. So look out for him to do even more next season in D3. I'm going to go on board now with one of the Red Bulls. The Red Bulls are now on the medium. So both of the Red Bulls went for the hard tyres, and now they're both on the medium tyres. So this is a very bizarre strategy call, but if Wesker can do a 9.3 on hard tyres, imagine the pace he can pull out on the mediums. Can he get to the front of the grid on a set of medium tyres?
That would be incredible pace and would be incredible qualifying for him. However, I don't know why he doesn't opt for the soft tyres. Maybe he doesn't like the soft tyres in the race. I don't know. Maybe he wants the soft tyres for the end. It's hard to tell, but qualifying on the mediums is interesting to say the least. And however, he does have great pace on the hards. Let's see if he can replicate it on the medium tyres.
Yeah, his first sector is nearly 2/10 of a second up on his personal best already, so that puts him in shooting range really of a top 10 at the moment. Let's see what his middle sector's like. We've got one of the Haas cars off the road. That's Ivor. He just gets out of the way in time for Wesker. Wesker, he's nearly 6/10 of a second up. This is a brilliant lap from Wesker. As he rounds the final real corner, really, as he now comes down the pit straight. Wesker's going to jump right up to the front of the field with this time. This is a brilliant time on a set of medium tyres for the Red Bull driver. As he comes up to the line, he goes 7th on an 8.7 on a set of medium tyres. Brilliant time from Wesker.
Yeah, only 2.5 tenths away from Aledi. And
Wow.
Wesker, of course, is on a harder set of tire. Wow. Brilliant pace.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Packer actually has just crossed the line and he's now improved again. So he's done an 8.4. So he jumps back into provisional pole just ahead of Aledi. Breeze on a lap at the moment as well. And he's slightly up in the first sector. 600ths of a second up. Obviously, the gaps are so close that even a small gain can gain you a few positions in this one. A yellow flag in sector 1. That's one of the Mercedes moving out the way, I believe, from the Dutch face by the looks of things. I see that Breeze time for the middle sector. He's keeping it very neat and tidy. Short shifting down into first to get the car rotated. Coming up to the 90 left-hander. He's 2 tenths up. Breeze on a flyer. Bree could actually still pole. Oh, as I say that, he spins. Oh, what a shame for Bree. It was a brilliant lap time, but unfortunately it's all gone wrong at the last corner. He spins coming out just on traction, but Bree's got some really good pace in his back pocket, so look out for Bree at the end of qualifying to maybe steal the pole position off of the likes of Packer or Aledi.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that he blew it on traction. He had great pace, 2 tenths up. Would have been pole most likely if he actually nailed the final corners. So yeah, very unfortunate. But however, he does have that psychological advantage, if you know what I'm saying, because he knows he can improve, knows where to find time. So no doubt in my mind he'll improve.
Yeah, just Chris. Meanwhile, in the racing point, he jumps up to P4 and an 8.5 as well. So that's now 5 people in the 8.5s. Incredible. Callum, meanwhile's on another lap as well, and he is improving. He's about 2 tenths of a second up on his time. So we could see another person in the 5s. As he comes up to the line, he does an 8.5, so he jumps up just behind his teammate. 3 thousandths of a second behind his teammate, and 6 thousandths ahead of Hardy. Couldn't get any closer.
Incredible to see.
Incredible stuff, as you say. Yeah, brilliant stuff. But look at that. The gap from Storm in 11th to Packer, who's on pole, is 4 tenths of a second. How close is this top 10? Meanwhile, Storm is on a lap at the moment. He's just had the runner in front of him move out the way. That was McDutchface, I believe. I think McDutchface actually made a mistake on his lap. Let's see if Storm can improve as he comes to the end of the sector. He's 2 tenths of a second up. We're going to have another person in the 5s, possibly. Here comes Storm then. As he comes down the last corner, he's keeping it very tight to the inside of the corner. He doesn't want to extend the track any more than he has to. The shortest one to the line. Let's see what Storm does when he crosses the line. It's a 1 minute, 8.499. So, wow. Just outside the 5s, and he's in the 4s alongside Packer. So, Jesus, I can't keep up with how close this is. This is incredibly close.
Yeah, this is going to be a real showdown, especially on the final runs. Everyone needs to bring out their A game in order to grab pole position. It's really close. You just have to hook up your lap. That's all you need to do. Hook up your lap and don't make any mistakes. And
yeah, all J-Luke meanwhile. Apologies, but in J-Luke actually, he's starting at the back of the field anyway, but he just got disqualified for parking in a dangerous location, so he hadn't actually retired from the session yet. Have a look through the rest of the field. Ricardo, meanwhile, is on his 4th lap on a set of soft tyres. I'm not quite sure what Ricardo's strategy is here. He is just kind of running around on his own at the moment. But Dutchface is on a lap. Let's see if he can improve. I think Hardy's just started his final run. Just had James actually just jump up ahead of his teammate. He's in 1 minute 8.7, 2 thousandths of a second ahead of his teammate in 11th place. Wesker's strategy to go for the mediums hasn't really worked. Meanwhile, McDutchface hits the grass on the exit of the last corner, so that's really affected his run down to the line. Is he going to dive into the pit lane? Yeah, he is. He's going to put another set of soft tyres on for the end of the qualifying session. Meanwhile, Storm's retired. Storm doesn't think that he can improve. Just had Hardy cross the line. Hardy didn't improve on his time. Got Damon on a lap. Damon's in the middle sector. He was down in the first sector ever so slightly on his personal best, but obviously any time gain in this is an incredible jump in places. But Damon's a little bit all over the road there. So he comes up to finish the second sector. He's 2 tenths up though. We've got another person aiming for a 5. Let's see what Damon can do as he comes up to the line. Nice clear track in front of him. Comes up to the line, keeps it nice and shallow line. Shortest run to the line. Here he goes up to the line then. It's a 1 minute. It's a 1 minute 8.6 actually. He only improves ever so slightly in the last sector. A little mistake on traction on the exit of the last corner, and he only gains the 1 place on Black Mamba. But Black Mamba currently is still in the pit lane. As I say that, he's actually just come out of the pit lane. So Damon only up to 9th with that improvement. Oh, he's got Hardy off the road by the looks of things. I don't know if Hardy spun or whether he's just moving out the way. But yeah, Hardy off the road in the middle sector. Bree's currently on a run as well. He invalidated his first run on this set, and he's a 10th down on this set as well. So Bree's not hooking it up at the moment. He's got the pace in the car, and he's just invalidated again actually. So it's not hooked up well for Bree, and I don't think he's really going to improve from P4 at the moment.
Goalie just went up into to P5 and did a
8.5
again.
Oh my word!
8.5s.
Well, Storm is pretty much on a 5. A 498 is pretty much a 5. We've got Storm all the way down to Hardy in 8th, all in a 1 minute 8.5. That's 7 cars separated by less than a 10th of a second. Incredibly close. Hardy's going again by the looks of things. Goldie just in front of him. Goldie moves out the way. Who else is on the lap at the moment? Callum's just started his final run. Chris is coming up to end his final run. He's a 10th up, so he might be in the 4s. He's 3/10 up, never mind. Chris is absolutely flying.
And Wesker, of course, in P12 right now on soft tires. He is looking to improve as well, I think. On his,
yeah.
He's now on an out lap, sorry. I thought he was on his flying lap. My excuses.
He crosses the line now, but Chris goes the line in 8 minute 2. He goes over a 10th of a second clear. It's the biggest gap probably in the field. Meanwhile, Packer has invalidated his final run, so Packer will not be improving on an 8.4. Chris goes to the front then in the racing point. Even with Tiger not here, it's still racing point at the front of the field. They always seem to end up at the front of qualifying, but a great lap from Chris. And he jumps to the front of the field. Hardy, I think, was that Hardy that just jumped up to 5th? It was.
Yeah, it was Hardy, yeah.
Yeah, he does exactly the same lap time as his teammate, Bree, but goes ahead of him. Incredible. I think P's just crossed the line. Yep, P's crosses the line. He takes P9 away from Damon now. Got Mambo who's on a lap. Mambo's not up at the moment, though. I think we got... As he comes up to the line. Callum's retired from the session, so Callum's not improving.
And Wesker's 5/10 up through the middle sector.
Oh, Wesker, a possible pole run, just on board with Black Mamba as he comes up to the line then. Let's see if he can improve on P11. As he comes up to the line, it's a 1 minute 8.4. He jumps to P3. Brilliant lap from Mamba. Here comes Wesker, though. And he steals it at the line. Wesker takes pole position at 1 minute 8.1. We saw it coming. We knew it was coming, and Wesker finally put the hammer down and put the soft tyres on. He only did one run, and he jumps straight to the front of the field. Brilliant lap from Wesker.
And Mike, the last car to finish his lap, it seemed like. He's down on ERS though, and he sets a 1 minute 9.6.
What a qualifying session. Wow, incredibly close. I don't know if Hardy's on another lap or not. He's not actually. Hardy's just running off the road at the moment. He's the only one left in qualifying. But yeah, what an incredibly tight qualifying session that was. Apart from the top two, who seem pretty spaced out from the rest of the field. Packer all the way down to... Well, P's in 11th, so 3rd down to 11th, separated by less than 0.2 of a second. Whoa.
Yeah, so it's Wesker stealing pole position from just Chris on the last second of qualifying, and what a lap it was.
I'm glad I didn't make any qualifying predictions because Christ Almighty, that was all over the place. You couldn't predict that at any point. Obviously, Black Mamba, we completely forgot he had a 5-place grid penalty as well, so he drops to P9 in the end from P4 on the grid. But here's the qualifying order then. Wesker takes pole position by over a 10th clear of just Chris, who's in 2nd. Great result from him. Packer takes P3 ahead of Mamba, who's P4. Storm takes P5 ahead of a Leddy, and then it's Hardy in 7th, Bree down in 8th, Goldie 9th. Callum rounds out the top 10. Piers is the first person outside the top 10 in P11 ahead of Damon. James is 13th ahead of Pelly, Ricardo, Dutchface, Ivor Bryn Mike, and then Ben, Heated, Angelic all did not set a time in qualifying. Oh, just to utter the words there was Storm in the chat. What a grid. Absolutely right. That's incredibly close, man. I'm also looking through the chat. Apparently, the race is going to be damp to wet towards the end of the race. So we are getting rain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. I wonder if anyone's gone for a wet setup or if they've gone for a full dry one. That'd be interesting to see.
I think the Williams drivers might have modified their setup a little bit because they're of course doing the last to wherever challenge basically. So they might just a little bit of a few things about their setup in order to accommodate the weather conditions.
Definitely, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what those Williams drivers can do. Don't rule Benjay out of winning this race, because somehow Benjay wins from no matter where he is on the grid. He's incredibly fast. But it'll be interesting to see. Last time we had weather like this, though, it was Mexico. We both commentated over Mexico, and it was pretty wet towards the end of the race. But in the chat, they said that it was going to rain about halfway through the race, and the rain didn't come until the last 3 or 4 laps of the race in the end. So you never really know what the weather's going to do.
Yeah, and according to the drivers, it said it was going to be a dry start, then it's going to rain in the middle of the race, and then it's going to be dry at the end. So a lot of weather changes.
A real mix of weather changes there. And I wonder whether that is why, that may be why Wesker wanted to start on the mediums, maybe because he thought he could take the mediums to the rain and he couldn't take the softs to that distance. But that might have been why he done it. But in the end, Wesker takes pole position. Just looking at the strategies outside of the top 10, only 3 people outside the top 10 starting on the medium tyres, which suggests that the rain's going to come pretty quickly. So Damon is one of those drivers in P12. He's starting on the mediums. Benjay is also on the mediums, as well as his Williams teammate Jay Luke, who's in 20th. They're both on the mediums as well. So only 3 people going for the alternate strategy.
Yeah, well, it obviously suggests that the weather is coming quite quickly, but we never know, actually.
Yeah.
In Mexico, it said it was going to come midway through the race, and it actually came out the last 3 or 4 laps. It was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and obviously safety cars might make a big difference in this race in terms of strategy calls.
Absolutely, yeah, it can really work. But the thing is, to time the weather well, and if the weather's rubble of coming when the soft tyres reach the end of their life, and the mediums will be the better tyre at that point, you run the risk of spinning on your dry tyres in the damp conditions if it's not wet enough. So maybe the medium tyre is the better option, but we don't know until the rain hits what's really going to be the best opportunity, the best strategy, really. But after watching qualifying, I'm going to push you now for a top 3, Dylan. Who do you think is going to take it today?
I think Wesker's going to win the race. He obviously has a brilliant pace. Actually, I'm actually going to say the top 3 stays the same, exactly the same.
Fair enough.
That's my prediction. What's your prediction, Ian?
I'm going to change from Storm. I'm probably going to say Wesker's probably going to win as well. I think Chris will probably stay second, but I'd look out for Black Mamba in this one for P9. I think he's a possible threat for a podium.
As the drivers are getting ready to start the race.
Yeah, here we go then. Here come the lights ahead of the drivers. Who gets the best launch off the grid? Is it the Red Bull? Is it the Racing Point? Off the line they go. It's a pretty equal start. Storm looks like he's got a pretty good start from 4th on the grid. Have a look in the background.
One of the inside.
Oh yeah, Chris very late on the brakes. He forces Wesker out wide. They're still side by side through turn 2, as is Storm and Packer. They're side by side pretty much through all the field. There's a little bit of contact further back, but it's not too bad by the looks of things. Everyone seems to have made it through so far. Have a look, Wesker then. He pulls ahead in the straight line though. He pulls ahead of just Chris. Chris looks down the inside, but isn't close enough to make the move stick. Storm meanwhile is still having a look at Packer for P3. He's not quite close enough for the long turn 6, so he's not going to make the move, but the top 5 at the moment stay the same. Goldie's in P6, ahead of Hardy in 7th. Breeze falling behind Callum by the looks of things. Oh, Goldie runs a little wide there, and Hardy almost makes his way back through on the Haas, but isn't quite able to do it. They're still side by side, actually. Hardy's got the outside line, but Goldie keeps the pace for the time being. Just having a look through the rest of the field.
Callum drives in the back of
Hardy,
and has front wing damage.
Front wing damage for the Racing Point, yeah, that's really gonna affect him with so many other fast drivers around him. He's gonna absolutely fall through the field. Just looking at the medium starters. Yeah, Damon on P's. Oh, there's contact.
Oh,
I think there was a desync between the two of them. Damon's been spun around and has hit the wall. It did look like Damon ghosted there for P's, and Damon got spun around. That's a shame for Damon. He's gonna have to hope
in the pits.
Callum already in to replace that front wing. And look at Wesker. Chris has stopped battling with him, and Wesker's already a second clear. Meanwhile, someone was wide in the background. Goldie's made his way past Aledi, and someone spun in the background as well. Was that Pelly? I think it was both. Oh dear, both Alfa Romeos have had a terrible start. Damon's been spun around by James. We've got one of the Renaults off in the background. That's McDutchface as well. It's all kicking off on the start of the second lap. But yeah, Goldie made his way past Aledi. I don't know if Aledi made a mistake, but Aledi's fallen behind the Haas driver, and now Hardy's all over the back of him. See if Hardy thinks about a move. Not quite. Benjay, meanwhile, is up to 13th already. He's side by side with Heated. Him and Heated started at the back of the field together. Benjay's going to try and go all the way around the outside. Is he going to pull that off?
A little bit of contact.
A little bit.
Heated. Wide.
Yeah, he keeps the place. It was a risky move from Ben, but still P13 from the back of the field. A brilliant start for Ben J. Paddy's worked his way back past behind the two Williams now after that slight spin for him. Looking through the field though. Yeah, West stretches legs out front. It's 1.1 seconds. He's broken the DRS to Chris already as we come up to the start of lap 3. Packer's just in Chris's DRS. The same with Storm, but there's a little bit of a gap back to Goldie in 5th. Wesker sets the fastest lap of the race. There's a bit of battling going on behind Bree and Pease. Pease looks to the outside of Bree at turn 1. Is he going to try and hold it for the inside of turn 2? He's not quite got the grip to do so, so Bree holds on to P8 for the time being. Looking through there.
Chaotic start of the race, of course, with Callum and David picking up or ending up in a collision. Those are the two main losers of the first 2 laps.
Pease forces his way up the inside of turn 4 on Bree. Pease makes the move stick, so Bree falls down the place, and here comes Ricardo down the inside of turn 6. Bree leaves him just enough space. As I say that, he kind of squeezes him to the apex. He didn't really leave Ricardo a lot of room there, but Breeze holds on to P9, but he is struggling a little bit. He is starting to get swallowed by the pack a bit, and Pease is looking pretty racy, and he's caught up to the back of his teammate already, so Pease is looking very racy in that second McLaren. Looking at the front of the field now, though. Packer starting to gain a little bit on Chris. Chris is 1.5 seconds off the back of Wesker. Wesker starting to scamper away up front. He's not really got anyone challenging him at the moment. Storm in a pretty lonely one at the moment in P4. Hardy, meanwhile, on the back of a Leddy. Hardy looks to the inside, but he hasn't quite got the straight line speed to pull it off. Leddy thought about
around the outside of Bree.
Is he going to pull that one off for turn 2? There's a little bit of contact, but Ricardo pulls it off. And oh my word, Mamba nearly into the back. Oh, and he hits the grass. Yeah, that's such a shame. Yeah, just hit the grass.
Has to watch out. Rejoining the track.
Be very careful rejoining the track. He's going to rejoin by the looks of it behind Damon and McDutchface. Yeah, there goes Damon, there goes McDutchface. But that's such a shame there for Black Mamba. Just hit the grass. Damon, meanwhile, picks up a time penalty down the straight by the looks of things. I'm not sure if Damon's lagging a little bit, actually, on our end. So looking through the rest of the field then, let's see. Yeah, meanwhile, Hardy is looking like the racist one at the moment. He's swarming really all over the back of a Leddy.
Both McLaren's looking very racy right now.
Peace has caught these guys very quickly, and I think at the moment it's Goldie who's the cork in the bottle, but Leddy just can't seem to make the move stick at the moment on Goldie to get the move done. As I say that, Leddy made a little mistake there in the last corner, so Hardy is pretty close. But obviously, Leddy's going to have the DRS as well, so Hardy's is going to be difficult for Hardy to make the overtake stick. He's not quite close enough. Goldie defending to the inside, trying to break the toe for the Ferrari in front. Goldie holds onto the place, so there's a Leddy ahead of Hardy, but a little mistake from Goldie. This is going to put a Leddy right on the back of him now. This is a Leddy's best chance to get back past the Haas.
He needs to get past right now.
Meanwhile, Packer on the outside of Chris into turn 4. He's going to try and go around the outside. Chris shuts the door, though. Packer left not a lot of room there, but Chris holds on to the place. Meanwhile, Leddy and Goldie side by side. Leddy's actually made his way through. Here comes Hardy now on Goldie, but he's not quite got the straight line speed to get the move done before turn 6. Does he ever think up the inside for turn 7? He's not quite close enough. So Leddy's been set 3 now. Let's see if he can catch Storm and that. Here comes the rain, yeah. Here it is, and it's arrived relatively early. It's arrived a bit too early for the medium runners, I think. The soft tyres will still be pretty decent at this point, but you can already see Chris was struggling for grip, but Packer was on the grass down the back straight trying to pass Chris into turn 4, and then was squeezed a little bit on the exit, but fair enough from Chris. He had the race in line. Let's see what anyone does in terms of strategy. Does anyone come in? Wesker stays out. No one's coming in as of yet. The rain's not falling very hard, but here comes Storm. Storm's got some brilliant straight line speed in that Mercedes. He looks to the inside of Packer for P3. Very late on the brakes. Packer's going to hold it around the outside, though. Yeah, Packer holds the place, but
it looks like Storm does have the DRS down the retro poster.
Let's see if he can do it. Is he going to go to the outside for turn 4? Packer holds the inside line. Packer stays ahead for the time being, but all of this is allowing Chris to get away. Meanwhile, there's a yellow flag instead of one. That's James that's spun around. I think people are starting to struggle a little bit for grip now. And James has spun on the entry to turn 1, I believe. I don't know if he hit the grass on the way in or anything, but he was kind of on the entry to turn 1. And that's where he spun. Leddy, meanwhile, is starting to catch Storm, actually. Leddy's already taken about a second out of Storm's advantage over him. So Leddy, now that he's been set free from the back of Goldie, is starting to catch guys in front and is dragging Goldie, Hardy and Pease and Ricardo, actually, along with them. Still very close, though. Wesker 3 seconds out in front. He's plain sailing at the moment for Wesker. He's not really had any pressure at the moment. Packer still not close enough to Chris to make a move stick. Storm is relatively close to Packer, and Storm does have good straight line speed. But Packer does have the DRS on the racing point in front of him, so he's not going to be able to get close enough for turn 1. Is there anyone through the field that's close enough? Not at the moment, just a bit of a DRS train at the moment. Goldie, meanwhile, trying to come back at Aledi now. But you can see in the middle of turn 3, Goldie struggling a little bit for grip. The car's a little bit all over the place. It's that point in the race, really, when the rain comes down, it's not quite wet enough yet for obviously intermediate tyres, but the dry tyres are not going to be performing at their best. They're going to be cooling down in temperature, and they're going to start losing their grip pretty rapidly. So we're at that point in the race where it's more about car control, when you have to really wring the neck of the car to keep it on the road and keep the pace up. Meanwhile, Packer, he's starting.
Packer's really closing in on Chris.
Yeah, he's all over the back of the racing point now. Great lap so far from Packer. I don't know if Chris made a mistake somewhere, but he is starting to struggle. Meanwhile, James is the first person to put the intermediate tyres on. I think it's still a little early for the inters, but we'll have to see what his pace is. Meanwhile, Storm runs a little wide there on the exit of the last corner. He hits the grass.
That's a really good exit. Packer might have a look on Chris.
Yeah, let's go on board. Let's go on board with Packer. Does he look to the inside? He does. Chris moves, but Packer makes the move down the inside. Great driving from these two. Packer down the inside, and he gets it stopped for turn 1. Chris thinks about the switchback, but he's not quite able to do it. But Chris has got good speed through turn 3. Is he going to be able to make the move into turn 4? Meanwhile, Pease and Ricciardo are side by side. I think Ricciardo may have actually broken a little bit too late for himself there. Meanwhile, Chris coming back around the outside of turn 4 on Packer. Is way off the track though is Chris. And Packer's going to keep P2 for the time being. So Packer now up into P2 ahead of the racing point.
Let's see if he can catch Wesker in first place.
Let's see if he's any match.
Really dominant.
He really is, but you can see just on board with Chris how much he's struggling for grip. It's really at that point. It's the crossover point now. It's very close to intermediate tyres, but by the looks of James's pace, he's not faster than Callum in front of him. So the Inters aren't at their best yet, but look at Packer struggling for traction on the exit of the corner. It's really close to the time to pit. I would imagine we'll see people in this lap as Chris picks up a time penalty. Oh my word, Chris.
Still on the back of heated.
Yellow flag in sector 2 somewhere. Not quite sure who that's for. Is anyone going to come into the pit? Chris is the first one in. Chris takes a gamble and he's going to put the intermediate tyres on. Storm follows him in. So does Aledi. Everyone's coming in. Only the top 2 stayed out. Hardy stayed out as well. Pease meanwhile speeds in the pit lane unfortunately. But the top 2 and Hardy all stayed out. Everyone else came in, and it does look like it's intermediate weather at the moment. Everyone staying out on the dry tyres is really struggling for grip.
However, James is not really catching Callum.
He's really
this moment in time.
Yeah, Callum is much faster than James at the moment. It's very close. It's very difficult to choose between them. We'll actually be able to see from Damon's point of view what his pace is like compared to Storm. So Damon's out in 6th, Storm's in 7th. Let's see what Damon's pace is compared to the intermediate runners. And you can already see Damon is really wise, yeah. The intermediates definitely look like the better tyre.
And the DRS is disabled.
Yeah. I think Wesker and Packer waited too long. They waited too long for maybe the strategist to tell them to come in. And other people around them recognised that the wet weather was coming and pitted quickly.
The outside of Damon.
Yeah, brilliant move.
Sector. Yeah, good move.
Yeah, great move from Storm. Damon has absolutely no grip on those tyres, but obviously he couldn't come in because his teammate also came in, so he would have been double stacked. But you can see he's just understeering through the corners. He's got absolutely no grip at all. Meanwhile, Packer picks up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Ooh. Packer comes in though. He holds Wesker up a little bit. But at this point, this is going to put Packer under pressure from being re-overtaken from Chris. J. Luke also speeds in the pit lane. Be interesting to see where Storm's at relative to Packer as well. Packer comes out. Chris is just coming into turn 2. It's going to be incredibly close between these two.
It's going to be really close. Chris is going to get the exit most likely.
He's going to get the exit, but is ahead, but he doesn't have the momentum. Here comes the racing point. He's not close enough. Packer manages to hold on to P2. And because he held Wesker up in the pit lane, he's cut the gap by about 2 seconds. So, good stuff from Packer.
Oh, Packer almost loses it though in turn 5. looked like he was really he had a lot of oversteer on the exit of the corner and almost crashed into the wall. He saved them though, so it's fine for now.
Yeah, good stuff then. Now this is the point in the race where we see who decided in qualifying to go for the wet setup instead of the dry one. See who's the more confident person in the wet weather conditions. At the moment then you already see though Packer already starting to pull away from just Chris. Meanwhile Storm behind has lost out quite big in quite a lot in this period of the race. He's now 4 seconds behind Chris and he's under pressure from Hardy now. And Storm had a little bit of a snap of oversteer there I think, as did Hardy. But Hardy's managed to jump a Leddy in the pit stops by staying out a lap longer. So Hardy actually staying out a lap longer has ended up ahead of the Ferrari man and challenging Storm for P4.
As we're seeing, gaps are starting to form right now because of the weather.
Yeah. The lack of DRS
is a little bit faster than Packer, it seems, right now.
Yeah, it does seem like Wesker is the more confident of the two at the moment. Wesker kind of smooth sailing out front, 4 seconds clear. You can see Packer just in the background, starting to pull away from Chris a little bit, as I said earlier on. But obviously with no DRS, this isn't going to help people's chances of overtaking. It's all going to be down to pure pace at this point in the race to see who's got the best pace in the wet conditions. Just looking through the rest of the field, Ben J from the back of the grid is 9th already. He's had a brilliant start to this race. Not far off the back of Breeze, just about a second behind, so don't count Ben J out of a podium position maybe. Just looking through the rest of the field as well. Pelly's recovered well after an early spin. He's up into P10. Looking through as well. Damon's P15 after his early spin. Black Mamba's 14th after his spin as well. Ricardo's really lost out in this phase. He's dropped down to 17th. I don't quite know what happened to Ricardo. Not sure if he missed anything going wrong for him, but he ended up down in 17th place and behind Iver when he was battling with the likes of Pease and Aledi for mid top 10 places. So Ricardo's really lost out.
Yeah, an update on the weather. It's actually going to be wet till the end of the race, I think.
Okay. So now it's a case of whether it goes heavy rain or whether it stays intermediate weather for the rest of the race. It doesn't look like the rain's very heavy. So there's not really a big... Yeah, the rain's not... So it's turning into full wet weather conditions as of yet. Not anywhere near that at the moment. Just looking to see who's got the best pace in the wet conditions. Ben J, I can tell you that.
Yeah, Ben seems really quick.
Yeah. Are we shocked though? We're absolutely not shocked at Ben's pace, but yeah, he's really close in the back of Bree. But obviously the wet conditions are going to hamper him. He's not going to be able to use the DRS to get past Bree, so he's going to have to do it somewhere on track. See what he can do though in these conditions. Looking at the gap at the front as well, Wesker's now up to 5 seconds clear, so Wesker's still pulling away from Packer. Meanwhile, Packer's got the gap up to Chris about 2.5 seconds. So the top three really starting to spread out. Storm is starting to catch back up to Chris though, so Storm's starting to catch back for a podium position.
He does make a mistake though, it goes wide.
As I say it, I jinx him.
And Aledi as well.
And Pease by the looks of things.
Yeah.
Oh, such a shame. Are Bree and Ben going to be able to capitalise as well? Bree's down the inside. Here comes Ben as well, and Ben's going to be through. Storm falls all the way from...
Ben might have a look up on Bree. Doesn't go for it now, but he might look onto the exit, onto the rest for Aposta down into turn 4.
Iverbryn Mike, meanwhile, has spun in the middle sector. I don't know if there was any contact with anyone, but he has managed to go round. Heated, meanwhile, also picks up a time penalty. Ben's not going to be close enough to Bree to make the move stick. But yeah, such a shame for Storm. Just as I was saying, he was starting to catch for a possible podium. He makes a mistake and he drops from 4th down to 9th.
Yeah, commentator's curse.
Yeah, out in force today.
Same with Bree in qualifying and now with Storm in the race. In the same corner.
Yeah, meanwhile, Ivo looks like is spun again by the looks of things. Ivo really struggling in these wet conditions. Just on board with everyone though. Let's see if Hardy can start to close in on Chris. Let's see if Hardy's got the pace to take the battle to Chris for P3, but the top three have really stretched their legs. But 4th down is just a complete train. 4th all the way down to Pelly, I'd say, just off the back of that in P10. A real train of cars. Well, unfortunately, Ivor has retired in the pit lane. That's such a sad way for Ivor to end his D3 campaign this season, but Ivor will end the D3 Championship, retiring in the pit lane.
I think I look on board with Ben, and he's really confident on the brakes compared to Brie, closing multiple tenths on their braking into turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if he's not quite going to be close enough for turn 4 by the since he's staying in non-ERS as well. He doesn't want to get too close down the straight, but like you said, yeah, he's much more confident on the brakes. But at this point in time, the DRS not being available is really hindering him. He's not able to make his way through the field. So it's just kind of stuck at the moment.
Yeah, he needs to capitalize on the mistake. If Brie makes a mistake, he needs to capitalize on it. And he does look like one of the faster guys on track as of right now. And Brie does go a little bit away, has a little bit of oversteer.
Here he goes. Ooh, little bit of contact, I think, but Ben makes the move stick down the inside, and he's up P7. So Ben makes his way past Brie. Storm's just behind Brie as well.
On the mistake. Oh, Total Peas and Aledi and Wakursk are really close together. And Aledi has a little bit of oversteer on the exit.
Yeah,
Total Peas might have a look up on the inside. He's gaining a little bit, not that much because there's no DRS. However,
he's got good straight line speed in that McLaren. He's got to inside. Aledi defends. He's around the outside. He's really late on the brakes. Aledi lets off the brake pedal by the looks of things to defend the position. Round the outside for Pease at turn 2. He's not going to pull this one off, is he? Oh, there's a little bit of wheel banging. But Pease is through. Brilliant move from Pease. Round the outside of turn 2 and up the inside for turn 3. Pease has made it up to P5. Pease has had a brilliant race so far.
Yeah, wow. You don't see that quite often. Around the outside of turn 2, usually people wait for the exit of turn 3 and try and make the move into turn 4, but wow, Pease taking no prisoners and making the move into turn 2.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from Pease. He's worked his way up. Ben, Aledi
gets a little squeeze, but
Ben's through. I'm not quite sure Aledi saw that one coming. I was on board with Ben and I didn't even see that one coming, but brilliant stuff from Ben. He's made his way up 2 places in the space of a lap, and he's now on the back of Pease for P5, so Ben's absolutely flying. Looking in behind as well. Look at Pelly now. Pelly, they're starting to hold this queue of cars up a little bit. He's struggling a bit in these intermediate conditions. Pelly, meanwhile, picks up a time penalty on the inside of the last corner. Meanwhile, yellow flag is set to Callum.
Callum just retired on track when
retired
battling McDutchface. I was just on board with it, and he overtook McDutchface and he just retired a few corners later. Weird decision.
Very weird decision. Luckily, it hasn't brought out any sort of safety car by the looks of things. But yeah, very bizarre call from Callan to retire from the race. Just looking at the front of the field, though, look at Wesker, 7 seconds clear now. What a dominant race this has been so far for Wesker. Packer 4 seconds clear of Chris. It's Packer on for a 4th second place finish in a row. I mean, it's definitely something to shout about, but I don't think he'll be happy.
Turn 5, sorry to interrupt you.
Go for it.
Goldie down into turn 6 is ahead. However, J-Luke around the outside. Oh, this is an incredible move, and he gets it done. Wow.
Brilliant
move
stuff.
From J-Luke around the outside in the wets as well. Brilliant move.
Brilliant stuff from J-Luke. I think the wet weather's played havoc with the Williams' chance of doing their last to first, but they're still pulling off some brilliant moves. J-Luke up into P12. Goldie's really struggling in these wet conditions. He fell from a top 6 position in the dry and is now down to 13th, so it's really gone wrong for Goldie, unfortunately. Ben, meanwhile, is on the back of Pease. Is he going to be close enough to make a move into turn 1? How late is he going to be on the brakes? He has a look. He's thinking about it. He looks inside, but Pease sees it coming. It darts to the apex of the corner. Pease holds on to P5 for the moment, but at the moment it does look like Pease may be the faster of the 2 McLarens.
Yeah, Pease very fast right now. And looking a little bit back, Storm is trying to make up for his mistake early on in the race. He's looking at the back of Brie. And Pelly actually as well, looking very close to the back of Storm.
Absolutely.
Didn't expect this, cars so close behind each other in the wet. Usually they create gaps in the race, and there's still a lot of battles going on. There's a lot of moves. Great to see.
Definitely. Meanwhile, Pelly down in. Storm sees it coming, leaves him space. Yeah, Pelly's not able to pull.
Stop Pelly, wow.
Does he go for the outside? Is he going to try and stay around the outside? He thinks the covers it off. Pelly looking to the inside. Oh, wasn't quite able to get to the inside of the corner, and he hits the back of Storm and breaks his front wing. That's a real shame for Pelly. He's going to start losing a lot of time
on
now.
lap 1, making all the way back up to P10, and then just a slight error on the braking, and that looked like it ruined his race a little.
That is a real shame for Pelly. He was on for, yeah, he was on for some good, yeah, was on for a good result. We had good pace as well. That is such a shame. Meanwhile, Ben is down the inside of Pease. Is Pease going to fend it off? He does. He squeezes Ben right to the apex, but Pease takes the inside for turn 2, but gets a time penalty. And look at the run that Ben's got through turn 3.
Almost has to lift off for total Pease.
Yeah.
Looking on the inside now for turn 4, and looks like he's going to get the move done.
It's a pretty easy move. Pease
However,
is still
Pease
there.
trying to hold it around the outside. Runs out of room, though.
Yeah, not able to do it. Yeah, Ben up to P5. Ben's the only one at the moment really making any moves in the wet conditions. Carving his way through the field. He's past Pease now. Hardy's his next target, but after Hardy there's a bit of a gap up to Chris. Let's see if Ben's able to work his way past the other McLaren just as quickly. We're just about reached the half point in this race. Just having a look through the rest of the field. Then we'll have a look outside the top 10 to see what's happening. Pelly obviously starting to lose pace. Heated's now starting to recatch. Jay Luke has been dragged along with him. Goldie starting to come under pressure from Black Mamba. Behind them, unfortunately, it's just not gone well, really, for the rest of them behind them. So Damon, actually, as I say, that picks up a time penalty, but he had a spin early on. Ricardo lost out in the pit stops pretty heavily. McDutchface, I think he had a spin at some point in the race, as did James very early on as well. So, unfortunate for them. Maybe a safety car late on in the race might bring them back into contention, but at the moment, it's pretty status quo, really, isn't it? It's the only real person at the moment making any sort of progress is Ben.
Yeah, Ben is looking very fast, as we expect of him in this division, and it looks like he might have a chance on a podium position if he keeps his good run of form going right now, because he's looking very fast and already at the back of Hardy, and he's dragging Total Pease a little bit with him as well.
He is, yeah.
Not much now, but Pease is looking very fast as well.
Yeah, Pease, I will have to say, Pease is definitely... Oh, as I said, Hardy just had a massive moment on the exit of turn 6, well held, but I will have to say, Pease has definitely shocked me in this race. He's had some brilliant pace. It hasn't really gone his way so far this season for Pease. He's been pretty unlucky so far this season, but he's shown some really good pace today, so look out for him next season. Maybe this is an omen for his pace next time round. Meanwhile, Ben, look at him, basically pushing Hardy through the middle part of the lap now. Ben's got so much more confidence in these conditions, and surely this is move done. Let's see what Hardy's straight line speed is like. Does Hardy move to the inside of the track? Does he decide to fend it? He is on the inside. Ben looks to the outside. Is Ben going to try and go all the way around the outside of the McLaren as they come up to turn 1? Hardy's still on the inside, but Ben goes all the way around the outside of turn 1. Hardy's still there though. Ben leaves him just enough space, but Ben pulls the move off. Another move around the outside. Brilliant stuff from Ben.
Yeah, the confidence on the braking really helped him in there. He looks like he's so good on the braking. I mean,
yeah. Oh my word! As you say that, Hardy was so late on the brakes. He nearly completely wiped Ben out, but well held. But that's going to put his McLaren teammate all over the back of him. I tell you what, Ben J is going to be a really good asset to D2 when he gets moved up next season.
Yeah, he'll most likely get moved out to D2. I don't think there's a question about that.
Absolutely not. But he's got really good racecraft as Ben to come from 18th on the grid up to P4, and it's only brilliant stuff. He's not, like you said earlier on, he's not out of a shot of a podium yet. So just Chris is probably shaking in his boots now, seeing that Ben's moved his way up to P4. Let's see what Ben's pace is like and how quickly he can catch that racing point.
It's died down a little. However, Black Mamba is still on the back of Goldie. These two had a great pace in quali, and the race or at least in the wet weather, kind of lost a few paylaces and lost a lot of time, unfortunately.
Yeah,
They've
definitely.
shown really good pace in the dry.
Yeah, obviously Black Mamba qualified P4 on the grid in the end, so if it was dry, he was probably a shout for a podium maybe, but yeah, the wet conditions, like you say, just hasn't gone his way. Same with Goldie, as you say, as well. I think we'll probably say the same for maybe Pelly and Storm as well. The wet weather's not really gone their way, unfortunately. They had good qualifyings. Same with the Leddy as well, really. There's a number of people that struggled. Meanwhile, Bree's starting to come back into it now. Bree struggled a little bit in the dry conditions, but he's starting to get back into his groove a bit, and he's starting to pressurise a Leddy for P7.
Yeah, and Toto is on the back of Hardy now as well.
Jim McLaren's fighting it out. Obviously, neither one of them really in some sort of a championship battle, so it's all to play for. And Hardy is a little bit all over the place at the moment. He's struggling for rear end grip in that McLaren.
Ricciardo and Damon side by side through turn 5, and then Ricciardo has to back off very close together. But Damon keeps the position.
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt you there.
That's fine, go for it. But Damon, yeah, just holds onto the place like you say. But Damon's struggling in these wet conditions as well, unfortunately. Ricciardo much more confident, but...
Well, Brie looks up.
Ooh.
Brie looks up and storms through.
There's a bit of contact though. Oh, and there's more contact and Storm's round. His car's going to get reset to track, yeah. And Storm rejoins, he's in the middle of the road. That's such a shame for Storm. They kind of just came into each other, really. Here comes...
Oh, it's scary.
Here comes J. Luke. And Heatig dives into the pit lane in that time as well. So J. Luke crosses the line. And J. Luke 2-in-1 gets gifted a place from Storm's mistake. And from here to coming into the pit lane, and J. Luke's now into the top 10 as well, along with his Williams teammate. Speaking of his Williams teammate, Ben J, almost a second a lap faster than Chris at this point in the race. It's already down to 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, Ben is driving at an incredible pace right now, and yeah, very unfortunate for Storm again in the final corner. It seems like it's kryptonite. I didn't exactly catch what happened. There was a little bit of contact with Brie. But yeah, he unfortunately got spun off and reset the track, and that put J. Luke ahead. Yeah,
at least Storm's still going. He's still in this race, and there's still all to play for. He's only 11th, so he's definitely still got a chance of points. Meanwhile, Pease is definitely closing in even more on Hardy now. I think this is probably the closest he's been to his McLaren teammate. Does look like, though, the standing water's starting to build offline, so I wonder whether we're getting close to full wet conditions. As I say that, Pease is actually into the pit lane.
He went on the new set of inters. We'll see what Toto Pease goes on. And it looks like the weather has, or the rain has increased a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's another set of inters though. Pease has to serve.
5 seconds stop going.
Yeah, 5 seconds he has to serve. Storm also into the pit lane as well, and he picks up a time penalty. But it's another set of inters. Maybe it's not wet enough, but maybe they can't take those intermediate tyres.
Oh, let it spun.
Safety car
out of turn 3. And it's a safety car.
Okay.
Storm's on the wet tyres.
Storm's put the wets on, Pease has put the inters, but this is such a shame for Pease. Pease is actually stuck behind the safety car in the pit lane. So Pease is actually going to get jumped by the likes of Ricciardo and Damon here because of that.
Wow.
That's such a shame for Pease. That's so unlucky. He's trying to get past the safety car. He does so, but that's a shame for Pease. He pits, and then as soon as he pits, the safety car comes out. He's going to lose a ton of places to people who are also maybe going to come in. Wesker stays out though.
Timing. Is Packer going to come in?
I imagine so.
Yeah.
It would probably be smart.
Pit for new inters. This is the time to pit, I think.
This is definitely.
In, though.
Oh, Wesker is in. Yeah, sorry, I was looking at James. I was looking at the wrong person. So Wesker's in, as is Packer then.
Well.
Packer has a time penalty to serve as well, so this is a good time to serve it in the pit lane. Chris is in as well. Does Ben come in? He does. It's a last-minute call. But he comes in. Hardy also comes in as well. Storm a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. Oh, if it could go wrong. If it could go wrong, it has gone wrong for Storm. Hardy speeds in the pit lane. Yeah. Breeze into the pits as well as Pelly. This really saves Pelly's race, actually. This really saves his race
up. Damage, of course.
Yeah. He's up to P7, actually. Meanwhile, Ben and Packer have put the full wets on. Okay, so a bit of a split in strategy here. So Wesker, the race leader, on the inters. So is Chris in P3. But second and fourth have gone for the full wets. That's a very risky strategy call. It's it's either going to work out absolutely perfectly for them. Meanwhile, Storm's actually retired from the race. It looks like he's given up at this point. But this either works absolutely perfectly for Ben and Packer because it rains even heavier and they don't have to pit again, or they're made to look like fools when the inters are the better tyre and they fall through the field. So it's a risky call.
Yeah, very risky. Usually the inter tyres are a little bit faster. However, on traction, they are a little bit slippery in terms of in comparison to the wet tires. It's interesting because if there's a lot of aquaplaning, then wet tires obviously must be the tire of choice. But pace-wise, inters are usually the faster tires.
Yeah, we didn't really see many people struggling too much in terms of aquaplaning or running out of grip on these intermediate tyres. It does look a lot wetter than it was, but I'm not quite sure if it's full wet conditions yet.
Yeah, the rain has definitely increased. That's for sure. But it usually takes a while before the track goes from inters to wets.
Yeah, absolutely.
As I say that, the visibility is, as I imagine, would
Ben's
be quite
in.
poor for drivers.
Ben's back in.
In again. He's going to go on the inters.
And he comes in, yeah, intermediate tyres.
Yeah.
So he went for the gamble on the wets and he already thinks it isn't working, so Ben's come in. That's a real bizarre call from Ben. He's actually going to come back out behind the likes of Pease. He's going to come out behind Pelly actually as well, so Ben drops all the way down from 4th to 8th, so he's going to have to re-overtake all the people we just overtook in the last stint. Comes out just in front of Goldie, so just holds on to P8. But now we see
Jay Luke's in as well again, so it looks like wet tires aren't
the choice.
Yeah, and Packer is making a big gamble now, staying on the wet tires.
The only person on the track on the wet tires is Packer in P2. See, the thing is with this strategy call is at least if you come in and put another set of intermediate tyres on, you're following the same strategy as everyone else around you, so you don't lose out in the case of putting intermediate tyres on because everyone else is doing the same thing. But putting the full wet tyres on, you can lose out massively at this point.
Yeah. I don't know what to say actually. It's quite hard to predict, but see Ben and Jay Luke switch to the wet tires and then back to the inters. It's quite interesting, and it suggests that the wet tires aren't the best tires for a situation right now.
Yeah, maybe they also got a weather call to say that the weather's going to dry up soon. Maybe the rain intensity is going to decrease soon, and that's why they've cut the intermediate tyres back on. But it's all going to be about the safety car restart. We've got another safety car, and Packer's in. Packer's into the pit lane. What a disaster for Packer. And this actually drops him way behind Bree. So this is going to put Bree in prime position to steal P2 in the championship. Packer already outside of the points.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for him.
That is a... He's down in 15th position. What a shame for Packer, running P2 for pretty much the entire race. He's now P15 and way outside the points.
I don't know if you mentioned it, but Storm did retire in the pits, I think.
Yeah. By the looks of things, he just wasn't confident enough to keep going, maybe, and obviously the penalties that he'd received.
It was very unfortunate for him. For him, it's a race what could have been, because he had an incredible pace.
Has Bree just spun behind the safety car? He has.
Yeah, he has.
Bree spun behind the safety car and he's behind his championship rival Packer now. I don't know if he came into contact with anyone, but Bree, running in P4, the highest he's been all race, has actually just spun behind the safety car and he's got front wing damage. So he must have come into contact with someone.
Yeah.
What a topsy-turvy race this is. Packer comes from 2nd down to 15th. Bree in prime position to take P2 in the standings, and then he safety car.
And safety cars in this lap, this is really hurting Bree, because now he has to drive the rest of the race with a damaged front wing, or he has to come into the pits right now.
Just going to drop him so far back.
Didn't
wow.
quite catch what happened.
I didn't quite catch what happened either, but here we go then. It's Wesker still in front. He leads at the safety car restart. Let's see when he goes. It's a very short final sector, so it's a short time between the safety car and you going. Wesker goes. Start from Chris though, but Chris not to capitalise on anything. Neither is Hardy by the looks of things. He's looking really racy. Look at Ben on the inside of Pelly for P5. He thinks about it. There isn't quite enough room, and Ben is P6 at the moment. Goldie runs into the back of him ever so slightly. Just looking through the rest of the field, then let's see who's got a good restart. Damon has got a good restart. Ricardo is all over the road. He nearly spun on the exit of turn 3. Damon to the outside. Here comes...
A lot of action, and total Pease as well.
Yeah, Pease on his teammate. Hardy's run wide, and here comes Pelly now. Pelly through on Hardy as well. So Pease up into the podium places, ahead of Pelly, and now Hardy down to 5th.
And Packer's not through on McDutchface. And looking on the inside and turn 6 on J. Luke.
He thinks about it, but just has the door slammed on his face a little bit. Meanwhile, James is going to go around the outside of McDutchface. James has been running at the back this entire race after this first lap, after his early race incident, and he's already ahead of the 2 Renaults already, so he's coming back into play in this one.
Yeah, Total Peace with a brilliant restart of the race, making up 2 positions, I think, or one position on Hardy, and now into the podium positions he is.
He makes a little mistake though. Pelly's going to build over the back of him. This is Pelly's opportunity to come into the podium places. How this has worked out for Pelly, I do not know. With front wing damage and a spin early on in the race, how he's fighting for a podium. This man has the luck of the devil, but is he going to look to the inside? He's not quite. Here comes Ben down the inside of Hardy for P5 as well. Ben down the inside, he's laid on the brakes. Hardy's still there though for turn 2. Hardy's going to hold on. And Ben's on the curb a little bit in turn 3, so Hardy stays in P5 for the time being. Ricardo and Heated were side by side, yeah.
And Damon now looking on the inside of Heated.
Here he goes down the inside. Is he going to take the position down the inside? Looks like he is.
Looks like he has the move. He's breaks a little bit slow on the apex, but he gets the move done.
Yeah, makes the move.
Pelly right on the back of Total Peace.
Is he going to look for a move down the inside of turn 7 maybe? He does. He dives to the inside. That's a really late dive. There's a bit of contact. They stay in the same positions though. Pease just holds on. Pelly trying to go all the way around the outside. It's just not enough grip there though. And Pease just holds on for P3 for the time being, but Pelly's still trying to get his way back through. Meanwhile, Ben's down the inside of Hardy as well. You don't know where to look at this point in the race now. Ben down the inside of Hardy. Hardy's still on the inside though. Ben squeezes him to the apex and Ben takes the place. My word, battling between these guys. Pease gets a poor exit though from the last corner. This is Pelly's chance once again to get them moved into turn 1. Meanwhile, Black Mamba.
Yeah.
Wow. And Goldie's in the grass, my word. Here comes Ricardo now as well. There's a yellow flag, so where one of the Renaults is ran into McDutchface that's crashed, and another safety car. Oh, and Damon has to take avoiding action behind the safety car. He nearly ran straight into the back of Ricardo. I think Hardy slowed down quite abruptly behind the safety car, and everyone checked up, and I don't think Damon really recognised it, so we nearly ploughed straight into the back. I don't know what happened to McDutchface there. I wonder if he came into contact with his Renault teammate, but breezed into ring.
Oh, Damon almost... The safety car's in the middle of the racing line.
Whoa! People having to take avoiding action.
Luckily no one crashed into it, and Jesus, the safety car was really dangerous there.
Ooh. I think we've seen it all in this race.
All we need to see now is it to go back to the dry within a lap or 2.
Yeah, exactly. You can definitely tell though the rain has died off. It's nowhere near raining as much as it was. But yeah, even after the safety car restart, brilliant stuff from Wesker. He pulled away once again at the front of the field. Don't imagine we're going to see anyone in this time round. Everyone's on relatively fresh intermediates as it is, but Wesker's running at an incredibly slow pace behind the safety car.
Yeah, he has to catch the safety car. I think there's a delta still, I'm pretty sure. I actually don't know, to be honest. Looks like there is a delta at least.
Yeah, looks like there probably is.
Yeah, with everyone being so close together because of the first safety car, I imagine so that we'll resume racing quite quickly.
Yeah, meanwhile, actually, J. Luke comes into the pit lane. So that gives Packer, James, and Bree, I think maybe. Actually, Breeze looks a little bit far back. But that gives Packer and James another place.
And Packer is now in the points paying position.
He is, yeah.
Do you know the point difference between Bree and Packer?
It's 4 points coming into this race. So it's 4 points. Packer's 4th in the standings. Bree is 2nd. And it's 4 points between the pair of them. So he has to get to at least, I think, P9 to take the second in the standings away from Bree. It's going to be a tall order with only about 5 laps to go in this one.
Yeah, it's going to be a 5-lap showdown for the race.
All depends on time penalties.
Of course, Wesker being very dominant in this race, has led every single lap of the race, I think. And has been really good in the wet and in the dry, of course. Putting the car on pole, making the best out of the situation. He's looking very fast.
Yeah, no one's really come close to Wesker today. But see when the safety car restarts.
Racing
No,
lap.
got Brie and J. Luke still not caught up to the back of the queue, so that's another lap of racing that's being missed.
And J. Luke did come out behind Brie.
He did in the end, yeah.
Stop.
So Brie up another place. This is back close to the points again.
Hopefully resume racing this lap. I imagine so.
I imagine we will, yeah. This is probably going to be the lap that it goes, but you can see that the wet weather tyre call would not have been the right call. Look how much it's dried out in the last like 5 laps. It's really dried out.
Didn't actually. He lost that one position theoretically.
Yeah.
During all of that, and he's still in P5. Brilliant. From P18 on the grid.
Yeah, from P18 on the grid, but that pit stop onto the wet tyres, he could be I'd probably say he'd be at least 3rd at this point in the race. So, but still, yeah, like you say, still a brilliant recovery. Same from the likes of Pelly as well. Brilliant recovery after, well, 2 incidents in this race. Pelly is somehow 4th. Great stuff from him. Can't take away from Just Chris as well. Just Chris hasn't been at the same pace as Wesker, but he's been running around pretty much on his own this entire race, and he's been holding onto a podium position the entire time. Then Packer's strategy call was meant Chris gains another place, so Chris still won for a shot at 2nd place in this race. So great stuff from him as well. Well, we'll find out in about 10 seconds time whether we go racing this lap. Good thing for Brie is that Brie does have a tyre advantage on people around him at this point.
Same for J. Luke, of course.
Yeah. I mean, already even without the tyre advantage. Safety car's in this lap. So Wester's got to do it all over again. Does he have the same strategy as last time? He's running a very slow pace. Running at pit lane limiter speed pretty much. Let's see when he goes. Car's in, Wesker goes. But Chris reacts a lot better this time round. Chris is a lot closer.
Chris might have a look down the inside.
This is probably his one and only opportunity as the green flags are waving again. Chris isn't confident enough on the brakes. James has been disqualified for ignoring a drive-through penalty. Ricardo's made a move on Goldie. Ricardo's actually spun by the looks of things. Oh, and heated spun as well.
Oh, Pelly around the outside of turn 3.
Oh. Is he going to make it stick?
He's going to look down the inside though in turn 4.
Oh, P's really late on the brakes.
But P keeps the position now. Oh, turn 5 side by side. This is really close to each other.
They're still side by side. Round the outside, is he going to pull this one off? Is Pelly nearly in the grass on the exit of the corner? Gets a little bit of a snap of oversteer. P's back down the inside.
Still side by side.
My word, these two. Brilliant racing.
Like Pelly has gone through.
Brilliant stuff. Wow, great racing from Pelly. Yeah, here comes P's though. P's back down the inside. Pelly has to turn out the corner. There's even more contact between the pair of them. But Pelly still holds on to P3. Brilliant stuff from these two. What great racing. Meanwhile, Packer's made his way up into 9th, and Bree's back into the points in 11th, so Bree is holding on at the moment for that P2 in the championship standings, but it's really kicking off. Hardy's losing a bit of time. Black Mamba's all over the back of him now. Let's see if Pease comes back at Pelly. He's got great straight line speed of that McLaren. Look at the straight line speed even without DRS. Looks down the inside. Pelly leaves in the space. He holds on to it though. Ricardo, a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. He was obviously involved in an incident in the safety car restart, as was Heated. I'm not quite sure who he was involved with. Pelly holds on to P3 for the time being. Can Pelly chase after Just Chris for P2 in this race? Meanwhile, Ben, he's on the back of P's now. Ben looking to try and take P4. He's not quite close enough to make the move into turn 6. He looks down the inside of 7, but thinks better of it. He's almost running into the back of the McLaren there. Bit of poor traction on the exit of the corner. Meanwhile, behind James has left the session. Just looking through the rest of the field. Damon's starting to fall off the back of the queue a little bit. He's in 10th position, holding up Bree and J. Luke. Yeah, maybe he was involved in the contact. Yeah, him and Ricardo were close on the track. Maybe it was Damon that caused it. Oh, someone spun, I think. Did someone just spin on the track? Someone made a mistake, I think. Maybe Hardy made a mistake. I think Goldie also had a poor exit from the corner as well. Packer's on the back of Goldie for P8.
And Black Mamba now around the outside of turn 1 on Hardy.
Ben down the inside as well on P's for P4, but he hasn't made the move stick. Meanwhile,
Packer on the outside of Goldie.
Yeah, Packer takes P8 ahead of Goldie. Black Mamba's not able to make the move stick on Hardy either. Meanwhile, Pelly is catching Chris for P2 now. It's down to 0.7 of a second. He's a little bit wide on the exit of turn 4, but has the straight line speed to stay ahead of Ben. Ben not using his ERS either. Down the inside, is he going to try and go for a move here? He thinks about it. He's really late on the brakes.
How did he get that stopped, though?
That was a nice try from Ben, but I think it was so far back that Pease didn't see it coming, and Pease turned into the corner as usual. Pelly, though, down the inside of Chris, who's already made the move stick. Pelly's up to P2.
And Ben as well.
Ben up to P4. So 2 moves in the same corner from 2 different people. Pelly, I don't know where that came from. He was 0.7 of a second back at the start of the second sector, and he's already through and up into P2. What a great recovery this has been from Pelly.
Yeah, that move around the outside of turn 3 and nearly making it stick was brilliant on Total P. So that's dropped a place to Pelly, of course, and Ben still on P5. Brilliant race from Total P's.
Yeah, still a brilliant race. The top 5 result for P's is a brilliant thing to take away from this race. He's had great pace all the way through. And while just looking in behind, let's see what's happening. Bree's kind of stuck still behind Damon, but Damon with that front wing damage is slow through turn 3. Bree going for the move for P10. Damon moves to the inside. Bree's going to have to go the long way round. Damon very late on the brakes. Bree might be able to get the switch back. Black Mamba gets a time penalty. Damon holds on to P10 for the time being. This is not helping Bree's chances of P2 in the championship. Meanwhile, Mamba all over the back of Hardy. Does Mamba look up the inside? He's not close enough. Meanwhile, just another word in for Wesker. Look at the gap he's got already as well. 3 seconds. What a dominant race this has been for Wesker. Probably one of the most dominant races so far this season. Maybe apart from the wet race. It's almost like a Japan repeat, yeah. It's like a repeated Japan, really. Ben absolutely dominated Japan in the wet conditions. Wesker doing a Ben and dominating in the wet conditions here in Brazil.
I would have loved to see a battle between those two at this race, because they seem the fastest guys out on track.
Yeah,
right now.
Meanwhile, Packer,
battle, I think.
Packer going for a move maybe on Black Mamba for P7. Does he look up the inside? He's going to have to be late on the brake. Late on the brakes. Does he get that one stopped? He does. Black Mamba turns it across ever so slightly. There's a bit of contact, but Black Mamba compromised and Packer round the outside of turn 2. Brilliant move from Packer, and he's up to P7. So despite the odd strategy call from Packer and Toro Rosso, great recovery from him to make it up to P7. I think this puts him in second in the championship. We'll have to wait and see. Ben, meanwhile, on the back of Chris to try and take the final podium position away. What a great result this would be from Ben from 18th on the grid for P3, but just Chris. He's driven a brilliant race so far. For him to lose the podium on the last lap would be such a shame. Let's see what happens though. Ben is swarming all over the back of that racing point.
All over. Goes, tries, looks better of it.
Yeah, he thought about it.
Probably wants to go for the move on the straight.
Yeah, try and get the best one out of the last corner. Meanwhile, we're going to run on board with Wesker though as he comes out the last corner. What a dominant race this has been for Wesker. No one's come close to even defeating this man today. Here he comes then round the last corner, up to the line. What a brilliant result to end the season in the last race of the D3's Championship. Is he going for it? Wesker crosses the line. Pelly does it. Ben's going to take it on the line. Ben steals it. He steals P3. He's P2 actually. P's. And then Packer onto the podium.
Packer gets a podium. Wow.
Packer ends up on the podium, crossing the line 7th. Bree takes 9th in the end. Damon the last point scorer. What a absolute switch up in the finishing result. So Wesker ends up winning, Ben ends up 2nd place, and Packer ends up 3rd. What a bizarre end to that race.
Brilliant race. The safety car indeed, for sure, has spiced things up quite a lot, and wow, what a race this was.
That was a brilliant race. And great racing from everyone as well, just to come through with. Through the wet conditions, considering how wet that race was and how topsy-turvy it was, there wasn't many incidents in that one. There was a couple of incidents for the likes of Ricciardo when heated, but brilliant stuff throughout the entire race. But Wesker was pretty much untouchable in that race. Good on him. Brilliant result from him. And if he's a full-time driver next season, look out for him. He's going to be title champion. He's going to be championship worthy in D3, maybe even D2. He's D2 pace by the looks of things. So look out for Wesker next season. But yeah, we're going to run you through the final order then. So it's Wesker who takes the win ahead of Ben, and Packer who ends up P3 after crossing the line P7. And that's Packer then taking second in the championship. He wins the Division 3.5 championship in the end. P's a great race from P's. I think I'd probably say, other than Wesker, I'd probably say P's maybe my driver of the day. Brilliant race from him. Chris ends up P...
Or Ben, of course.
And Ben, of course, yes, from the back of the field. But what do you really expect from Ben at this point? Chris, a shame from him. He was running in the podium positions all race, ends up P5 ahead of Black Mamba in P6. Pelly ends up in P7 after crossing the line second. Hardy down in 8th ahead of Bree 9th and J. Luke 10th. Goldie 11th. Damon rounds off the points finishers. And Heated was the last finisher in the end in 13th. Ricardo, Dutchface, Storm, Aledi, Callum, Ivor and James all retired from the race. But wow, what an end to the season. D3, just to say the least, has been a pretty chaotic season from the start. Ben's come out on top, obviously, in the end, in the championship standings, but it's been chaotic throughout the entire season, and Brazil sums that up with that last race. What a brilliant end to the season.
Yeah, it was a great race, of course, because there was a lot of battles, a lot of close racing, and a lot of great overtakes. One to mention was the one, of course, from Pelly, and also a few from Ben were quite amazing to see.
Yeah,
props to them, and they for sure ended the season with a bang.
Absolutely, yeah. Pelly put that one in for possible overtake of the year. That was a brilliant one, mate. But that's where we're going to round off the stream today. Dylan and I are just about to compete in D2, which starts about now. So wish us luck for the next one. Dylan, any final thoughts as we end the D3 season?
I wanted to thank everyone for joining in the D3 season, and obviously showing a lot of commitment, and the attendance has been great. So props to everyone, and we'll see you next season. Yeah,
absolutely. See you next season. Tune in for D2. It's a 7-point gap in the championship between Gary and Cookie. They're fighting it out in the last race. Cookie's been absolutely stellar recently, so look out for him to maybe steal the championship off Gary, who's led from pretty much the outset. So tune in for that, and we will see you next season. Thank you everyone for tuning in to D3, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.